it's Claire here with a quick how to make a sweet treat box with an impossible lid. These measure 5.5 inches by 2 3/4, and you can put a window in if you want to. They've got the integral lid, which is that impossible lid that just lifts up and presses down, and they're really easy to make. So you'll find a copy of the template that I'm going to show you at the end of the video, so you can just stop the video on that, follow the dimensions and make your own. Here's how to do it. This is the template, and to make each box you'll need one sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock, and you'll find a picture of this at the end of the video. So start off with your 12 by 12 cardstock, and measuring along one 12-inch edge, you want to do 4 score lines, one at 2 3/4, one at 5.5, one at 8 1/4, and one at 11. And then cut the cardstock at 11.5 inches. And then turn, let's get rid of that 1/2 inch piece, turn your cardstock 90 degrees and score at 2 3/4. And then just take it out of your trimmer, turn it 180 degrees and score at 1 1/4, 2 1/2, and 3 3/4. And that's all the scoring done, so you can get rid of your paper trimmer. And then grab your pair of scissors, and we're going to do some cutting. So we want to cut out, these are the 1 1/4 inch score lines. You want to cut out the 1/2 inch tab on the second and third 1 1/4 sections, leaving the top one in place. Get rid of that piece. And then at the bottom, along the same edge, you want to cut out the 2 3/4 inch section. And this piece, before we move on, you want to fold it in half, short ends together, crease it, and just cut a tiny notch out of the top, marking the centre point. I've got a blue one here that you can see the notch better on. That's going to be our marker. And then you want to take your card, and with the 2 3/4 inch section at the bottom, you want to have the tabs to the right. And on those tabs, we're going to put a strip of double-sided tape. Like that. And then you want to fold your card on the second score line down, so the second 1 1/4 score line. Fold it towards you, burnish it, and then we're going to do some markings. Actually, let's burnish all of the score lines before we go any further. Just so that they're nicely creased. And these top ones, you want to burnish them both ways. Because they're going to fold both ways. And then the vertical ones, if you have the double-sided tape facing you, you want to fold so that you can always see that tape. and score. And then the last one is this bottom one that folds up. And then turn your card so that you've got your tabs to the right. Fold down on that second score line from the top, and we're going to make some marks. And this is where you need your little guide. Because the box is 2 3/4 inches wide, it's quite difficult to work out on your ruler exactly where the centre of these sections are. So this little marker, a little template, is a really useful way to do that. So what you want to do is line it up in each of the 2 3/4 inch sections along the fold line and just make a pencil mark, making sure that your tabs are to the right. So you can see those pencil marks, and then take a ruler and draw down, entangled in the tape, from the pencil mark to the first score line that you can see at a diagonal. And then move your ruler along, come to the next vertical score line, and you're going to draw from the corner of that up to your pencil mark, and then again. And then the last one. Then grab your scissors, turn your card round, and you're going to cut down the vertical score line to the right of the pencil mark and along the pencil mark to cut out the diamonds. And then down the next score line and along your pencil line. And keep going until you've cut out your 4. They look like triangles. I suppose they're bigger triangles when they're opened out. And get rid of those pieces. So that's created the top of the box. And then at the bottom, we just want to shape 3 of these sections. So the first thing we want to do is cut up the vertical score lines to the horizontal score line. So this section is the bottom of the box. And then fold 3 sections over themselves. So you've got 1 free, and the 3 that you've got layered, just cut off the edge. It just gets rid of all the edges when you're assembling the bottom of the box. And it's just easier to do them all together. So now when you open out, you've got your bottom sections cut and your top sections cut. And now we're ready to do some waxing. And that's something that I found. If you wax your card before you put your box together, it just helps the lid to slide on and off. So this is where you wax across the 3rd score line. That's where the lid's going to come down. And then on the outer score line, just either side. Some of this will get stuck under the paper, but some won't. And that's where the box is going to come down. The lid is going to come down onto the card. I just found it helps. Then we can stick our papers in place. So to do that, we want to fold this top section over on itself. If you don't do this before you make the box up, you absolutely can't do it afterwards. So fold that top section down, the outer 1 1/4 inches, and stick your paper pieces in place. So the template has got all of the information on the size of the paper pieces that you need. So I'm just going to glue mine and pop them on. I'm using papers from the Love Notes collection by Graphic 45, but you could use any. You need a 12 by 12 sheet for the main area. You could use 8 by 8 papers for these smaller sections, but you definitely need 12 by 12 to cut all of these larger pieces. So stick your papers down on the top section. And also, if you're using glue, when that dries, it gives another layer to and stiffness to the project or to the box. Last one. And once you've got them in place and they've stuck down, you can just burnish them just to flatten the glue out even more, making sure they don't move, which they do sometimes, and then get rid of any excess glue that comes out as you're doing that. And then we're ready to stick the paper pieces onto the main area of the box. Now, if you want to add a window, now's the time to do it. If you want to cut yourself out a window, you want to have a die that fits inside the width of one section and a big shot or a larger cutting machine, because we're going to fold this in half so it's almost 6 inches wide. So you want to stick your paper piece, I did have mine in order, not that it matters because the box gets folded up, but so I'm going to do that one now. I put double-sided tape on the top of the paper piece because the lid's going to come down and slide over the paper. You don't want it to lift up, so if you use double-sided tape along the top edge, you will the paper will stay stuck down much better. Glue on the rest, stick it on the section that you want to cut your hole out of. Try and use the second section in, doesn't matter from which side, rather than the one by the tab, because that's a 1/2 inch tab. It's going to sit underneath whatever you cut out, and if you've gone too close to the edge, then you'll see that tab. Stick that down, then bring in your chosen die, and you have to remember that the top comes down over the box, so when you position your die, you want to come nearer the bottom than the top so that you can see the whole hole that you're cutting out. Stick that down just to hold it in place. Open your whole cardstock flat and fold in half. Then bring in your paper cutter, big shot, not paper cutter, big shot. Excuse my plates, they're well used. Let's put them on the bottom. Make your sandwich. So pop the whole piece down on the plate, it will just fit, making sure that your die hasn't moved before you start cutting. And then pop your top plate on and roll away. Just make sure they're straight. get rid of that. And then open out. It's made a little dent on the other side, but that's going to get covered, that's fine. And then you can take out that section. If you want to ink the edges of the cut paper, then do that from the inside. I'm just using a dark distress marker to do that. Then if you want to add a piece of acetate, cut one just slightly bigger than the hole that you've cut, and using double-sided tape, stick it in place on the inside. You don't have to add acetate, you could put your whatever you're going to put in the box in a little gift bag. So you could just leave this hole open. Let's take the backing off. So I like to take the backing off one edge or two edges, position the acetate over the edges that have still got the backing tape on, making sure it's in the right place, then stick it down and then lift up the other side and take off the last two backing strips. So that's the window in. And now, flip over, we can stick the papers down on the other sections. Grab the glue. So centre them up and stick them down. Last one, tape at the top. And stick it down. And then use your bone folder just to spread the glue under the paper, pushing it to the edges, make sure everywhere is nicely stuck down. Remove any excess glue. And then we're ready to assemble it. So it's really quick, it's a fabulous little project. So bring that top section down and then fold it on the centre line. I'll fold it on the first one actually. And bring over the other side. So you can see the tape here. We're just going to take the tape off this centre section. And stick it there. Then we're going to do the bottom of the box. So we're not going to do the top at the moment. So the bottom of the box, fold in the two sides that you've shaped that sit next to the full square. Put some glue on those as you stick them down. That one. Glue on that one. Then bring in the last of the shaped pieces. You can move the box, get everything nice and square, and then the top one sits over everything. So a little bit of glue on here, or you can use double-sided tape at this point. And then the box is big enough for you to actually get your hand in and press all of those layers together. And it's also big enough for you to get your hand out as well. It doesn't get stuck. So press everything together and square up that bottom section. You can do that while the glue's wet. And then you press your lid down so that it sits over the top of your box. Get it nice and square. Then you can close this little section. Now I've got tape on the wrong side, so I'm just going to take that off and remove it. There, I've removed it and made sure that I've got no sticky on that inside. And then you can fold that little tab under the edge that it's going to stick to and just sort of push it into place. Now this tab, it doesn't sit completely under the lid because, of course, the card is exactly the same size as the box, but it's coming down over the box now. So you're going to have just a sort of slightly larger gap where this joins, but that's okay. If you want to put some glue on your double-sided tape just to help you maneuver it into place, then do. Just a little bit there, and then join. And then, because we've waxed those corners and those edges, if you just work the lid up and down a few times, you'll find that it gets really easy to push it up and down. And also just check whether you've got any corners. I didn't think I'd taken the tape off that. Any top edges that are lifting up. And if you have, then just re-stick them down. That's better. And then just work it up and down. The wax will do its thing and you'll have a really smooth opening box. And that's it. That's how to make sweet treat boxes. And then you can fill them up with whatever you fancy. So this is a box of Maltesers. If you're in the UK, you'll all know what they are. And I've just put them in a cellophane gift bag and put them in. So that is a whole box of Maltesers, completely untouched at the moment. And they fit in perfectly. Into the little box. So have fun if you're going to make them. Do follow the template at the end of the video. Happy crafting, and give me the thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, and subscribe to my channel, and then you'll be kept up to date with more projects and products as they come out.